is overcoming sin so hard?
You open the door to your heart.
And he opens the door and he gets beat up. He's like, what the heck?
Nah, I don't want you to come in. There's too much mess in there.
Moral to the story is this. But before we go into that, our names are Calvin and RJ, and on this channel, we make the Bible relevant and practical in your everyday life. And a huge majority that tunes into this channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. Now let's get back to the topic. Actually, you know what? Why is overcoming sin so hard?
Why is overcoming sin so hard?
Yeah, why is it so hard?
When I think about sin, and I think about the word submission, right? Submit to God, consenting. And the verse that comes up to my mind is Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. And in Revelation chapter 3, verse 20, Jesus says, behold, I'm standing at the door and knocking. Like, what door is that? Of course, we know this to be our hearts.
Yeah.
And I'm standing at the door and knocking. So there's two things that you can do if someone is knocking at the door, at a physical door at your house, right? You either look and be like, nope, I don't want to answer that. You ignore it, or you open the door, right? Now, that's the word submission that I'm talking about. What does that look like practically, spiritually? You open the door to your heart, right? You allow Christ to come in. You get what I'm saying? Like, when you open a door, what does that signify? You're saying, I'm allowing you to come in. I'm welcoming you to come in. I'm submitting for you to come in. I'm cooperating for you to come in.
Sure, yeah.
So for me, the reason why it's so hard to overcome sin is because we're not allowing Christ to come in. And you know what Christ does, bro? Like, when he comes in, that's why you have a lot of these verses, like, for it is Christ that works in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. For I am crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ that lives in me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That in you methodology. Like, our job is literally just to submit, consent, open a door, and he will come in and do all the cleaning for us.
Yes.
And you know what got me, bro? Like, in the Filipino culture, you know, what we do is when people say, RJ, hey, bro, let's go to your house, man. Come on, man. Let's do it. Let's go. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, my goodness, I didn't clean. You know what I'm saying? I didn't clean up that day. You know, I know hey, let's just go to the park. Let's just go to Calvin's house. Let's go to Calvin's house is bigger. Start making all sorts of excuses, right?
Yeah.
Bro, that's the same thing we do with God. We're like, Christ is knocking at our hearts. Nah, I don't want you to come in. There's too much mess in there. And Christ is saying, I already know that. I just want you to allow me to come in. And if I come in, I will do the cleaning for you, bro.
Come on now.
Like, literally.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Yeah, so to add on to what you're saying, there's this powerful story, and it goes like this. There's a man, one day he sees Jesus in the streets. And when he sees Jesus, he says, Jesus, I want you to come over to my house. Yeah. And he's not expecting Jesus to say yes necessarily. He's hoping he does, but he doesn't fully expect it. And no, I'm not talking about Zacchaeus. But he says, Jesus, I want you to come over to my house. And Jesus says, okay, I'll come. And he's like, oh, okay, great. Yeah. So Jesus comes, he comes into the house. He's like, hey, man, I got this perfect bedroom for you right here in the back, man. All decorated guest room and everything, man. Pillows laid out, bed, everything is folded clean. Hey, towels in this room, man. If you need a shower, go ahead and grab the towels. So one day Satan comes to his door and he knocks.
Yeah.
And he opens the door and he's like, and he gets beat up. He's like, what the heck? And he's wondering, he's like, man, I invited Jesus into my house.
Right.
And like, dude, he's still beating me up. It's crazy. Yeah. So he don't say anything. He's like, maybe Jesus, give it a little time, So one day he gets another knock at the door the next day. Yeah. Now you would probably think that, hey, he ain't gonna open the door continually knowing it's Satan. Right. So he opens the door, maybe not knowing who it is. And boom, Satan beats this dude up again, bro. And he's like, what the heck? This is crazy. Like, I thought Jesus is really looking out for me. Like, this is why I invited him to my house. Next day goes by. Now, you would think he didn't answer the door. He knows it's Satan. Knock. Gets it. Sees him. Oh, dude, beats him up again. Mercy. And he's like, what in the world? So one day he sees Jesus walking around the streets, because he's just staying over. And he goes to Jesus, and he's like, Jesus, I thought letting you into my house, you would actually protect me and help me more. Like, what's going on? How come, like, Satan keeps beating me up? And Jesus says to him, you see, you have confided me to one room in your heart. But allow me to freely roam throughout the house. Come on now. And then I can get the door instead of you.
That's deep.
So one day, He says, okay, fine, no problem. Cool, man. I'm tired of getting beat up. So he says, you can go throughout the whole house.
Yeah.
So then what happens? One day he hears a knock on the door. Guess what? My man still tries to open the door. But this time, because Jesus can freely roam throughout the house, what happens? As he goes to open the door, Jesus steps in and says, let me get that. And when he steps in and says, let me get that, Jesus opens the door himself.
Come on now.
And now the dude doesn't get beat up. The moral to the story is this. What you said is true. But one of the things that we still do ourselves, what makes sin so hard to overcome, is that we actually go and we keep opening that door. And the reason we got to keep opening it is because we've allowed Jesus into our heart, but we've put him into one compartment. We haven't allowed him to freely roam throughout the entire house.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that I've seen. So overcoming sin isn't necessarily hard. It's actually easy by submitting to God. But the only way to do that and allow Jesus to take care of everything is to submit everything. Like sometimes we just submit one area. Yeah. Hey, I gave up here. Hey, I'm done here. Hey, I'm done there. No. Jesus says, let me roam throughout the whole house. And if Jesus roams throughout the whole house, what happens? He can get the door every time Satan comes.
That's right.
Because he's coming back.
Come on now. You know, man, that's so powerful. Because I talked about submission. We talked about consenting. But not just consenting some parts. 50%, 80%, 100%, right? 100%. When you look at Proverbs, it says, my son, give me thine heart, right? Give me your heart. And then when you look at Jeremiah 29 and verse 12 or 13, it says, and you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart.
Not some of it.
And not some of it. And then Ezekiel 36, bro. Ezekiel 36. This is what happens when we do that. And this is for me the last one. Ezekiel 36 and verse 26. It says, I will give you then a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh, bro. So that is deep. Yeah. That is the main reason why people keep sinning, is because they're not consenting. Not just consenting, but consenting fully.
Yeah.
Not
and
fully giving the heart.
The verse you brought out, which is Revelation 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if anyone hear what?
My voice.
So notice, it's not a knock sound you're listening for. It's the voice.
Come on now.
And so as we continue to develop our relationships with God, the whole point is to submit more. Once we submit more, we'll realize, man, actually, this is not as hard as we thought. It's actually easy to overcome sin because I'm submitted and God is changing me. He took that heart of stone and did what? Gave me a heart of flesh.
That's right.
And so maybe you guys have figured out some ways that you have submitted or made submitting easy, because we're not saying submitting is easy.
Right.
Comment in the comment section below. We want to hear from you. And then hit that subscribe button. We want to see you at the next one. Looking forward to partnering with you guys. Hit us up and we'll see you. Until then, peace.